Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, your channel that brings you your daily update on the Glasgow Rangers, your team every single day. A channel run by the fans for you, the fan guys, and we've got a target of 3K subs by the end of this month. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get there, but if anyone can do it, it's the Rangers family. So please hit that sub, ring that notification bell, and come and join in the channel for absolutely free content. It's free, guys. We're not charging you for it. It is absolutely free. You can obviously become a member if you want to, but like I said, we don't charge you for content. So we've got a little bit to discuss today. Obviously, today represents the first return to football at Ibrox since the end of last season for Rangers, as Rangers take on Newcastle United in the Alan McGregor testimonial. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the video and a possible lineup. We're also going to talk a little bit about the transfers that are seemingly on their way through, transfers out of the club as the club starts to look to trade out players, as well as obviously buy players as the summer rebuild and a summer squad overhaul continues apace. And we're going to talk about what those departures could mean for those three players that Rangers are very heavily linked with. Well, let's start off by talking about Glenn Kamara. Now, it looks very much like Glenn Kamara will sign very soon with English Championship side Leeds United. Obviously, Leeds were relegated from the Premier League last season and are now playing in the English Championships. However, they still have that parachute money and still have a substantial amount of money from their days in the Premier League. Now, it is thought that the deal to take Kamara to Elland Road personal terms have been agreed. It's very much now down to the two clubs agreeing, and it sounds like the two clubs have come to agreement on a fee of £4 million for Kamara now, which, if you think that we paid £50,000 for him, would represent a £3.95 million profit on a player, is pretty good. And certainly a player who had a very poor season last season, but as we saw in 55 and in the Europa League run, Kamara is an excellent player, and I think someone who will bring something to that Leeds side. That's the first one. The second one, obviously, is the impending departure of former Aberdeen winger and now Rangers winger Scott Wright. Now, Scott Wright was the subject of a bid from the English Championship from Preston North End. However, now it looks like he will be on his way to Turkey, where he will play for Pendikspor. Sounds like an operation you have to have, isn't it? When your appendix goes. But Pendikspor are a newly promoted Turkish Super League team. Looks like Scott Wright will be heading over to Turkey to negotiate the terms of his deal. It is a £500,000 deal for Scott Wright. If you consider that Rangers are now starting to ship out players, these are the second, third players that are on their way out of the club this summer. Antonio Cholak obviously left to join Parma not so long ago. Then we obviously added that Kamara, that would take it to £6.5 million. Adding to that the £500,000 for Scott Wright, that's £7 million. Adding to that another £1 million for Malik Tillman, that takes it to £8 million incoming to the club in player sales and player end of loan revenue. So with that money, it does seem that like was talked about by Michael Beale and I think a number of media sources, well, not so much Michael Beale, I suppose, but more media sources, was that Rangers would have to sell before they bought any players. And it does seem now that this trading out is starting to happen with the departures of Cholak and the impending departures of Wright and Kamara. Three players are rumoured to be ready to come into the club, and that is Jonathan Panzo of Nottingham Forest, Danilo of Feyenoord, and the saga himself, Jose Cifuentes of LAFC. Now, if we start with Cifuentes, which seems to have been the longest ongoing transfer that has rumbled on for an awful long time now. Cifuentes has been linked with Rangers repeatedly, and Rangers are anxious to bring the LAFC Ecuadorian midfielder to Ibrox. A guy who can go box to box, a guy who's got an eye for a pass, also likes a tackle, very much a number 8 in his mould, very much someone who I think could come in there, supplement the midfield. You play him, you play Raskin, you play Cantwell, you have a very phenomenal 3-man midfield there. Cifuentes is a talent. He really is. And we've seen, some of his recent performances for LAFC, including the one where he scored a goal. I think it was against St. Louis. He is an exceptional talent. Now, Cifuentes posted a cryptic tweet again, and we all love a cryptic tweet, don't we? We all love a tweet where, it gets football fans' tongue wagging. It's like the airport picture, isn't it? Anyway, Jose Cifuentes took a picture of himself on an airliner, which obviously got a lot of Glasgow Rangers fans' tongues wagging and thoughts being commented that is he on his way to Glasgow to agree the terms of a new deal, a transfer obviously from LAFC to Rangers. Now, this comes on the back of the comments of his head coach, former USA international Steve Cherundolo. Steve Cherundolo was talking about how now the MLS is in kind of a storage period, is in a rest period, a break period. The LAFC will be looking to reform and remold their squad. LAFC are still in contention for the Western Conference title. That's apparently one of the leagues out there. And they were anxious to keep hold of Cifuentes for the short period. Now it now looks like now this break is here. They can ship out players that they want to and bring in players to replace those. And it does seem like that now we are at that point in time that LAFC may be willing to allow Cifuentes to go a little sooner rather than later. The fee could be somewhere in the region of £1 to £1.5 million for the player. Now, Jonathan Panzo, that deal again is been very frustrated by the fact that Rangers were away in Germany, and that apparently slowed down the negotiations. Also, there was the link to McKenna this morning, which doesn't seem to be very popular at all, given the comments that I've read from Rangers fans. Jonathan Panzo apparently is very heavily favoured by Michael Beale. Michael Beale likes him as a lad, likes him as a player, and I think is desperate for him to come into Rangers. I think that again is another deal that will get done now that players have started to go out of the club. Panzo, spent last season on loan at Coventry. Coventry fans speak very highly of him. I know Coventry were interested in retaining his services, but with obviously Rangers coming in, there's little chance of that because, after all, let's face it, where would you rather play? For Rangers with Champions League football and the possibility of trophy lifts, or for Coventry City, who, will be struggling along in the Championship? Now, the deal everybody wants to know about is the Danilo deal. Now, at this moment in time, apparently Rangers have put in a new bid. The rumours stem anything from £6 to £6.5 to £7 million for Danilo. And Michael Beale is very anxious, apparently, to land his man, very anxious to bring Danilo into the club. However, it appears that the whole deal may be slowed down by Feyenoord's ability to sign a replacement. According to Dutch media, Arne Slot has had a bit of a meltdown and has had an angry go at his board. Apparently, Slot was not happy at how Feyenoord board were dismantling and selling his championship-winning team. There was an awful lot of players leaving this summer, a lot of players who've been transferred for big sums of money, and really putting Feyenoord in a position where they have a weaker team than last season. Reportedly, now again, this is only reportedly, Arne Slot has said that Danilo will not leave until Feyenoord have signed a replacement. Even some media sources suggesting that Slot does not want Danilo to leave. However, it does appear that Danilo wants to leave. That is the difference in the position of the manager and the player. So it's exceptionally interesting for me what is intended, to happen at Feyenoord. Is it the manager's way that will get the way at the end of the day, or is it the players' way? We all know players have an awful lot of power now in the modern game to decide on their futures. It does seem like Danilo wants to come to Rangers, but it does seem that now the whole thing where Arne Slot wants a replacement to him is possibly going to hold up the transfer deal. Now, the one thing we've got to take into account is, I think, as a team, we need to get these players in as soon as possible. The season starts very soon, but not only does the season start very soon, we also have the Champions League qualifiers. And as we know, the Champions League is absolutely vital for us to qualify for, to obviously help maintain our coefficient position, help us possibly qualify for that Club World Cup, obviously raise the amount of money coming into the club as well. We do need to continue to improve our revenue streams. So, that's where we're up to at the moment with the Danilo, the Panzo, and the Cifuentes deal. And obviously, the departures of Glenn Kamara, Scott Wright, and Antonio Cholak, who has already gone. And in the cases of Glenn Kamara and in the case of Scott Wright, I've got nothing against the players. I wish them all the success in the future at their new clubs. I think Glenn Kamara will do a fantastic job for Leeds once he's got his game head on again, once he's got his focused head on again, and once he's got away from the way he played last season, where he really did down tools. Well, tonight even represents the first of the pre-season games here at Ibrox. Yes, it is a testimonial. Yes, Alan McGregor will play a part. I don't know whether you've seen, but if you go onto Rangers TV, you can watch the return of Greasy to the training ground and him working out with the coaches and getting himself sharp again. Obviously, after time off over the summer. Yes, he is obviously leaving and retiring, but I think he will play a part at some point in this game. Now, whether that is starting and then coming off, whether that is coming on at some point, who knows? Now, obviously, that places a little bit of a difference on the game. Now, I'm not getting my excuses in early in case we lose. What I am doing is saying that the fact that Rangers are, obviously allowing a player who's just retired, a player who did have a very ineffective season last year, I think, as much as I love Alan McGregor, as fantastic as I think he was as a player, I think he went on a season too long for me, which you could tell, obviously from the end of last season, McGregor, like I said, will play a part, but it is still felt that both teams beyond that will put out reasonably strong lineups. As to who Rangers will play, who knows who will appear for them in this pre-season friendly against Newcastle. Now, obviously, this is the first of a series of pre-season friendlies. The next one, obviously, is on Saturday against Hamburg, again at Ibrox. So back-to-back games at Ibrox for Olympiacos at Ibrox as well. So a lot of games coming up for Rangers. A great chance to try out some of these new players. Now, although this is a testimonial, I do think there will be an air of competitiveness to it. Two teams who are going into the Champions League, or one team that's in it, one team that is looking to qualify for it. Two teams that have high aspirations for the forthcoming season. Two teams that have invested in new talent. Now, I don't think we'll see the £85 million Italian Tonali or Tonali or whatever he's called playing for Newcastle tomorrow night. Tonight. It's because I recorded this video on the night before. Do apologise. Playing tonight at Ibrox, I don't think we'll see him. We may not see Joe Linton either. But you know what? It's not about Newcastle, despite what Newcastle fans say, despite the fact they think it's all about them because they are quite arrogant. It is not all about you, Newcastle, tonight. It's not about your players. It's about Alan McGregor. It's all about Alan McGregor and thanking Alan McGregor and saying goodbye to Alan McGregor properly and thanking him for what he has done for this club over his time here at Ibrox, which he's been absolutely phenomenal for me. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, Rangers outside of that, I hope will use this and take this game seriously. I think obviously play McGregor for a little bit and take him off and put Butland on and let Butland get some tests, let him get a bit of a workout against a pretty decent English Premier League attack. That's got to be the intention over these next pre-season games, is to obviously get these players playing together, embed the new players and allow the new players to get some experience. Now, I was having a little think earlier about what the strongest lineup is at this moment in time, without Cifuentes, without Panzo, for example. Now, this is what I identified for me as being the strongest lineup possible to play. Jack Butland in goal, a back four of James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, John Suter and Ridvan Yilmaz. Obviously, there's a lot of talk of Borna leaving and Ben Davis leaving, and obviously then been replaced by Panzo. But at the moment, Panzo hasn't signed for the club. That's why the back four looks as it does. Now, obviously, having included Cifuentes, but like I said again, he has not agreed a final contract. So you've got Nicholas Raskin alongside Ryan Jack. You then got three behind the central striker. Dessers is up front, obviously with no Danilo yet. They may play with split strikers, twin strikers, who knows. I've gone for behind him, Abdallah Sima, Sam Lammers and Todd Cantwell, who I think the good thing about those three is they can all kind of interchange in their positions. They can rotate, they can be flexible, they can be fluid in the way they play the game. So for me is the strongest lineup. Like, let me know, guys, what you think in the live chat. Is that the strongest lineup we've currently got? Could you think of anyone else to come in there? Is there any changes you would make? Now, it could be a change of formation. Absolutely. Now, I use something called, I googled builderlineup.com If you do that, build me a lineup, guys. Send it to me. Let me have a look at your lineups for the start of the season. Now, like I said, I hope tonight against Newcastle, we see, outside of McGregor, playing a very strong Rangers team with as strong as possible, obviously without the injuries that we have, really going out there and taking it to Newcastle. These next 4 preseason games, we need to really take it to teams, obviously come out with no injuries, but really try and embed so we can hit the ground running as soon as the league starts. Well, guys, let me know what you think of the stories this morning in the comments below. As you know, I will always trying to get back to you. I love reading your comments, below the video. Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. If you have not done so already, please hit that sub and help us hit that 3K target by the end of July. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the great content. We've got a podcast coming up Wednesday with Scott Young, who is a sports journalist for the Rangers Assessment, and obviously my colleague Victoria Searle. And as always, I need you to do 2 things for me. Number 1, I need you to smash that like for me. And number 2, I need you to remember, always, we are the people.